Why did King Kong perform so much better than Godzilla when fighting Mechagodzilla? There's a lot of things that we have to go over, so let's talk about them right now. One thing that we have to keep in mind is that the director himself, Adam Wingard, stated is that Godzilla is exhausted because he went 3 rounds with Kong and used his atomic breath to its absolute core. Now, a lot of people got it confused for the scene where Godzilla drilled a hole to the hollow earth, which is definitely part of why Godzilla was so tired, but I chose to go by what Adam Wingard said himself, considering he is the director, where in an interview he says that Godzilla has just gone 3 rounds with Kong where he exercised his nuclear breath to its absolute core, and so he's pretty worn down at that point. Pause to read if you need to. And just for more confirmation that Godzilla was specifically tired because he used his atomic breath against Kong and not the hollow earth drill, let's listen to the sound clip of that exact interview.
Godzilla has just gone through, 3 rounds with Kong where he has exercised his, nuclear breath to its absolute core. And so he's pretty worn down at this point.
So that kind of confirms that the reason why Godzilla was so tired against Mechagodzilla was because he couldn't hit Kong with the atomic breath. In this case, Kong's agility outmatched Godzilla's atomic breath by far, which is why Godzilla had to keep using it in order to catch Kong. Unfortunately, Godzilla didn't land any big shots on Kong with its atomic breath, he only clipped him. So now that we came to the conclusion that Godzilla did bad against Mechagodzilla because he was tired and going 3 rounds with Kong beforehand, does that explain why Kong did better in the final fight against Mechagodzilla? Well, no, not really, because then we have to evaluate what Kong went through before he fought Mechagodzilla. To start off, Kong was taken off of Skull Island, his element, which could really throw things off for the big ape. Another thing that we have to put in consideration for the big ape is that he was sedated on a ship in the middle of the ocean, which is definitely not his element. Not to mention, Kong had to fight the big G out of his element and directly in Godzilla's element, while slightly drowning before the fight and also being slightly on drugs the entire fight. Drugs that, I mind you, put you to sleep. So I can only guess how tired he was in the first fight against Godzilla. Another thing that a lot of people seem to forget is that Kong fell from the surface of Earth down into hollow Earth, where gravity inverts midway through the fall, which for someone his size can be pretty painful. After that, he fought 2 unknown creatures that he's never seen before in his life, and managed to kill both of them. After Kong found his axe, he also had to climb from hollow Earth back up to Earth, which I'm pretty sure takes a lot of effort considering the whole inverted gravity thing. That's gonna be kind of hard to climb through. After all of those things that he went through, he then went toe-to-toe with the big G. So it might even be safe to say that Kong was extremely tired before fighting Godzilla, going through a lot more hassle than Godzilla himself before their final fight. So now that we came to that conclusion that Godzilla and Kong were tired before that final fight against Mechagodzilla, why did Kong perform better? I mean, Kong literally died fighting Godzilla. I think that's something that might exhaust someone. Well, the truth might be a little bit more obvious than most people might think. Before this movie, it was stated by Adam Wingard that Kong was out of shape, and Kong really hasn't fought anything in the last couple of decades that matched up to Godzilla, if ever. But one thing that him and his ancestors were always good at was weaponry, using weapons dexterity. Something tells me that when Kong finally got his battle axe, he gained a skill set that he never knew that he had. Something that was buried deep down inside him, granted to him from his ancestors. What I'm basically trying to say is that he got a major buff in this scene. Toho fight between Godzilla and Kong, I realized that when Kong had his axe, the fight was about even, if not leaning towards. When Kong didn't have the axe, the fight was leaning heavily towards Godzilla. In order to stay at that skill level that he unlocked when gaining the axe, he must keep the axe during all fights, at least until he gets in better shape or gets more experience under his belt. For those who don't know, it is completely possible for a Kong to kill a Godzilla, especially without the tools. For those who don't know, in the Godzilla Dominion comic, an ancestor of Kong beat Godzilla into submission and kicked Godzilla out of his lair. And this, I remind you, was with no axe, just bare hands. That's why in this case, Kong is severely outclassed by Godzilla because he's never fought a Godzilla before, and his skill set was only based to Skull Island and not the Hollow Earth which the other Kong was from. So, how does Godzilla fare against Mechagodzilla himself? Well, Godzilla is a powerhouse, known for his durability, his healing factor, and his atomic breath. Man is literally a tank, while Kong is also a powerhouse, known for his strength, dexterity, speed, and intellect. Putting in the fact that Godzilla was also tired while fighting Mechagodzilla, I would have to say the reason why Godzilla did worse is because his stats didn't line up with Mechagodzilla's the way Kong's did. Kong could match Mechagodzilla's speed, Kong was extremely smart, and when given the axe, Kong is lethal. Now, as also stated by Adam Wingard, if Godzilla was at 100% power, I definitely think that Godzilla would have done 10 times better in this fight than he did originally. But that even begs the question, how good would Kong be if he was at 100% as well? This fight from the beginning was unfair for Godzilla, considering Mechagodzilla is literally built to be a step ahead of Godzilla every single time. But Mechagodzilla was not designed to take down Kong. Kong's fighting style is completely different from Godzilla's, and Mechagodzilla barely had a chance in reading him. Now, I do think if it was a one-on-one for each creature, Mechagodzilla would still win. But in the final fight, I believe that's the reason why Kong did better than Godzilla. What do you guys think? Comment down below.